Masechta Zevachim. Daf Mem Aleph Amud Aleph is starting from the fourth line from the top of the lust with the words V'chidava Alam Behekesh. The Gemara says V'chidava Alam Behekesh Chayis Umelamed Nukavachayim. Something that we learn out with a Hekesh. Could we go ahead and learn out with a Kavachayim? We learn out that the dinim of Es Badam V'Tabal. The Es teaches us that the Kohen can have a water on his finger and do the Zikah. Badam tells us that the keli has to have the share of dam that can be turned with your finger, and the tabal tells us has to be dafke tefillah, not off the walls of the keli. So there, it's all written by Parker and Gadol. Through a hakesh, we learn that this all the S and the badam, the tabal is applicable to par helam dava, and say Yom Kippurim we learn out with a kavachema from from par helam dava. Par helam dava we learn out with a hekesh. So once we learn out with a hekesh par helam dava from Parker and Gadol, how can we learn out say Yom Kippurim from par helam dava? Papa answer because I'm telling the Rabbi Yishmael, the Tana from the base Medrash, Rabbi Yishmael holds something that we learn out from a hekesh. We could go ahead and again and learn it out for a new din, a third din with a kavachema. What does lapar come to teach us? That it's a pa helam dav shel tzibur. The word lapar is written in par helam dav shel tzibur. Why would the Torah have to write again this lashon, this second par? Because we had to teach par helam dav shel tzibur that the par helam dav shel tzibur, the din of haktara that you burn the diaphragm and the two kidneys with a hekesh. We want to learn out that that by the soya of Avitzgechavim, also they were makiv the yeseres, the diaphragm and the shtei kloyes. Upahalam davar shal tzibur, begufi like sin. In the pahalam shal davar shal tzibur, and in that pasuk begufi like sin, it does not write this halacha that you have to sacrifice the yeseres and the shtei kloyes. Only behakesh only we learn out with a hakesh from Parker and Gadol. So in order to make a hekesh for Parhalam David to see that would be a double hekesh. It's l'chapar. That's why we needed the second part. The Mahavi command to make it consider as if it's written by Parhalam David alone, the halacha that you have to sacrifice the shtei klayas and the yeseres and the shtei klayas. So once it's considered as if it's written by Par Helam Dava, therefore now you can make a hekesh to see Avitzgechavim. The Leila Heavy Dava Halam Behekesh Chayzam Halam Behekesh. And now it won't be a case that Par Helam Dava you learned out that you have to be a makar for yourselves ushtei kloyes from Par Yom Kippurim, and then you want to learn out with a hekesh from Par Helam Dava to see that they also have to be makiv the yeseres shtei kloyes. In order it shouldn't be a double hakesh, so we said a second part, even though it's not written the halacha of that you have to sacrifice the yeseres shtei kloyes by par helam dava, but the extra word lapar makes it as if it's written in that parsha of par helam dava about the yeseres shtei kloyes, and therefore you're able to now make a hakesh for sir avitzah. Tanya Kava say the Rapapa, we learned the Bray says like the words of Rapapa, it says by the Pasha, Palam Dava, the Asa Kasha Asa Mata Malema, what is he coming to teach us? Lapar. And the Yamana Lefishanama, because in the Pasha of Siri Avitzgechavim, it says, Veheim Hevias Kavanam Ishla Hashem. They brought their carbon, which is a fire to Hashem. That's going on Siri Avitzgechavim. Chatas Mufnei Hashem Al Shigigasam. So the lashon shigigasam is he's saying chatasam. So here he starts. Chatasam lifnei Hashem shigigasam. Chatasam elusirav Avitzgechavim. The sin is going on the surah of Avitzgechavim. That's what the pasuk is talking about. Shigigasam is a pahalam davar shel tzibur. Shigigasam. Where do we see shigig goes on pahalam shel davar? Because by pahalam shel davar it says the lashon shigig. V'im kol adas yisrael yishgu. Chatosam al shigegasam. So we're makish between these two kabbanis of Siyavit Zichavim to Pal Shaldava. Amra Tere Chatosam. It says Chatosam by Siyavit Zichavim. Arehi lecham, that it's included in the burning of the emudim kishigasam, just like my parallel dava, which emudim, the yeseres, the diaphragm, and the shtei kloyes, just like my parallel dava. But shigasam, which is parallel dava, meichlam alatav. Where do we know that there, by the parallel dava itself, that you makiv the yeseres the shtei kloyes? Don't you learn it out? Don't we learn it out from the Parkoin HaMashiach? How can we now, Parlam Dava itself, we learn that with Hakish from Payim Kippurim that you makiv the Yisrael Shtei Kloyes. So something that you learn out with a Hakish, Chayzim Alam the Hakish, Tamalim Lapar, that's why we have the extra word per. Par is a Par, Helam Dava Shal Tzibah to tell you that it's going on Par Helam Dava Shal Tzibah as if it's written in Par Helam Dava Shal Tzibah, the phase that you have to be makiv the Yisrael Shtei Kloyes. This is like the Yemara, and this that it says a second time, Lepar, Zek Par Koyin HaMashiach, is referring to Par Koyin HaMashiach, to say that we're makish, the Par Koyin HaMashiach, that the Yisrael Shtei Kloyes, that you're makiv also by the Par Helam Dava. So this B'nai is aray to the words of our Papa, that the extra Lapar was needed according to Rabbi Yishmael to make it as if it's written in Par Helam Dava itself, the sacrifice of the Yisrael Shtei HaKloyes. Amamar, the Tanat Yizag, we learned in the Braisa, Chatasam Elu Siri Avid Zichavim. Chatasam is going on the Sari Avid Zichavim. Shigigasam, we said already, that goes on the Par Helam Dava, like it says, the Lashon Shegevim Kol Adas, Yisol Yishgu, by Par Helam Dava, it says the Lashon Shegeg. From here, we learn out that you have to be makneh the Yisrael Shtei HaKloyes of the city of Zevachim, just like by Par Helam Dava. So we could ask, why did the Braisa need this hakish? We already could learn out this halach in the first pasuk by the Pasha of Par Helam Dava, that we will makish city of Zevachim to Par Helam Dava. In the first pasuk, the Amamad, that we said it in the first Braisa that we brought before, Achatos is a city of Zevachim. Chatas is going on Siyavit Zichavim. From this hakish, we learn out that by Siyavit Zichavim is just like by Par Helam Dava. Why did the Braisa need to make it a hakish, an additional hakish to compare it to? That the din of Haktas HaYisrael Shtei HaKloyes is also applicable to Siyavit Zichavim if it was already in the same pasuk. It says we're finished in the same pasuk. Amar Papa Yitzchak, we needed it. We needed this additional hekesh in order to learn this halacha. I mean, I would have thought to say, if not for this additional hekesh, this that we learn out from the hekesh to compare Siri Avid Zicham to Palam Dava was only with the gate to Hazoyes and the Haktaras HaChelev, the Chsid Megufei. The Haktaras, the burning of the Chelev, which is written befedish in the Pasha Par Helam Dava, but not the other halachis. But the Yisrael Shtei Kloyes, like Megufei, which is not written befedish in the Par Helam Dava, I would say no. We wouldn't be makish. See, I would say to Par Helam Dava that you're makish also the Yisrael Shtei Kloyes. That's why we needed an additional hakish to tell us that we're makish and even benegeya to the hakrava of the Yisrael, the diaphragm with the Shtei Kloyes and the two kidneys. Avhuna the son of Avnasa said to Papa. There's a famous story with Avashi. The Malchamavis wanted to take Avashi away from the world. Avashi begged, give me time to chaz over. And he gave him time. He says, I'll give you 30 days. Exactly in 30 days he came. He says, why? What's happened? He says, so exact. Why do you have to come exactly on that time? So he told me, because Avhuna B'nai Avnasa has to take over the yeshiva to become Rosh Yeshiva. This is in Mayit Cotton. So you might have said to Papa, Tana, the Tana which is brought down as a raya to your words, meaning in the Braisa, Memam base, Lerabis Payam Kibru Lechoma, Shom Binyan Kama. It's mashma from the Lashon Lapar that we dash, but again, the Par Yom Kippurim, it comes to teach us on all the things that are written in Parshas Pahalam Dava, that it should also be applicable to the Par Yom Kippurim. Included in this cloud is the Matnas Dam, is one, you need all of them, one is Me'akav the other. If you're missing one, it's not a kapara, which, behold, is not like your words, because you said the Pasuk is only come to teach us the three dinim of Es and Badam Utfila, that the Kain can do Zika. Es tells you he can even do Zika with a wart. Badam comes to tell you the Kli has to have the shear of blood l'chatchila for Tfila, Utfila, that he has mamish be table and now wipe it off the walls of the Kli. And not about the Matanas Dam on the Akves. It's a Machlekes Tanoim. And if whether we learn out the halacha of Matanas Adam of Par Yom Kippurim is Makvis or not. Tan the Rav in the yeshiva of Rav, they learned the Brais and the base measure of Rav, Merabi Hachi, that it's Mabed, like I just said, that it's Mabed only the halachas of Es Badam Vitaval. But in the base measure of Rabbi Yishmael, that they don't include just like only the three dinim of Es and Badam and Betavel. Rather, they come also to include and learn out the ikuv of Matanis, that one Matanis Dam, if it's missing, it's Ma'akiv the Kapara. So you want to tell Rabbi Yishmael. We learned in the Brais from the base measure of Rabbi Yishmael. Why does it say the details of what is sacrificed by the Pakay Gadol, the Yeseres Ushtei Kloyes, and by the Pahalam David doesn't? A mashal to the king of flesh and blood. He got angry on his best friend. And he diminished, he made smaller the sin of his friend because of his love. That's why he didn't want to detail over here. It's the Am Yisrael who are the beloved of Hashem. Therefore, where we're talking about of their sin, we didn't want to go through all the details to emphasize on the sin. Why does it say by the Pakay Mashiach, but it doesn't say by Pahalam Dav Shatzibah? So you want that they sinned against in the Medina. If it was only a minority that sinned, that his surroundings around him, Miskam still exist. But if most of the people sin, the Melech removes himself a little bit from his love for the people, meaning even the people are surrounding him. So to here, if only the Kohen Gadol sin, so the Beis Hamikdash remains with his full holiness. But if the Reva Tzibah sin, so that's so then it's similar as if there's no kedusha in the Beis Hamikdash. He doesn't want to be around anybody. Lefikach, Vaitin, we learned then of the Mishnah. If one of the matanis of the Damachatis Apnimius was missing, it's Ma'akiv. If he gave all three like he's supposed to, and one he had machshava of chutzlas maneh, then it's psula vein kares. There's no kares. Sagt die Mishnah, not awesome. You want to bring some Mishnah that's connected to this Indian. We learned in the Mishnah, pigol, if he had machshavas a pigol, the koimetz v'loi balavayna. If in the mincha you have to have the koimetz, the kmitza, that you have that meaning with the flour, and you have to have the spices. So if he had in mind if he had the wrong kavanah in the koimetz and not by the lavayna, or in the reverse, Rameir says it's pigol and it's considered as karis. By the way, when you pick up the kmitza, that's like the shchita. You put in and you take your hand. That's shchita. Then you do the kmitza, that's the kmitza. Then the kmitza you put into a keli, so that's the Kabbalah. And then you add oil and the frankincense, Malaved is the frankincense, and then they bring it towards the Mizbeach, and then they do the zikr, they throw it on the Mizbeach. So you have all the halacha, the Kabbalah, you have the shechita, the Kabbalah that you makabel in a kli, the halacha bringing it to the Mizbeach and throwing it on the Mizbeach. So Pigul he's Chum say it's not, there's no kares till there was the machshava of chutz lezmanei throughout the whole mincha, through all the avedis of the mincha. But if in one of the avedis of the mincha it's missing the pigul, ain't mefagin lechatzi. There's no pigul to half of the aved. It has to be through the whole. Don't say the reason of Rameya that he holds that it's going to be possible because the kasav of the mefagin lechatzin mata. He says you could even make a pigul even in the half of the carbon that it makes it mutter. Let's say in the kmitza part, and which is half. He says even in that there could be pigul. And he says don't say that's the reason that you mafagil. You could do pigul even in half of the avodah, and it will still be pigul. Rather here it's talking about kinagayin shenasa tchilas hakemitz. That's talking about first he did the koimetz with the machshava pigul, and then after that he put in the levina b'shtika without anything in mind. So since the beginning started off with pigul, so we say since the beginning the first aveda that he did in the mincha was with the das of pigul, so anything that he does after, even though he's doing quietly, it's al das shayna, which is the das of pigul. From where do you learn out that that's the reason of Rameya? It says from this that we learned it says Lafikach im nasan kulan, if he gave all the matnas nam kitiknan, but the last one was not puzzle aim by kares. It's going to be puzzle, and there's no kares because the last one, since the last one he did with the Mishavas Pigul, there's no Adas Shaina. The first three happened already with a good intent or with no intent. It's not shy to say Das Shaina. Here the last one is where he had the wrong Machshava. So therefore it's not going to be Chayv Kares. But what's if the first one was Achash Loy Kitikuna? You could be Medai, but if the first one was Shaloi Kitikuna, Mekulu Kitikuna, Pigul, it's going to be pigul because we're going to say the last three is of the Avodah Mincha is based on the first machshava that he had by the beginning of the Mincha. Says Gemara, who is this sort of following? If you're going to say the Rabbanan, no matter what, if the pigul was only on half, it's not going to be pigul. You have to say. Our Mishnah holds like Ameya, the timer, the Ameya, Mishum the Mefagel Mechatzi Matu. And even going to say the reason why Ameya says that it's gonna be pigul because you can make pigul even by Chatzi Mata. Afilu Kidiktani. Even in the case that the Mishnah learns that the first ones were done Kitikuna and the last one Shaloi Kitikuna Nami. Also, the carbon should be considered as pigul. So why does he say ein by kares? According to Ameya, if mefag mechatzi amata, even the first case should have been pigul. La mishum nekasava, only because he holds kol ha'isa avdas ha'sheni only when will it all become pigul? If the first one had the wrong mashava and the other three were quiet, then we say avdas ha'sheni ha'isa. Only in such a case will be chayv kares. But the way the Mishnah described it, that the first three were done kitikuna and the last one not, that's why it's not going to be kares. So it follows mamish the shita Ameya. I'm sure Rabbi Yitzchak later Rabbanan. Really, I can say it follows the Shita Rabbanan. Oh my kitiknon. What does it mean kitiknon? Kitiknon last sakam lepigul, that he had in mind to do a real pigul, the machshava, the chizrai lepigul chutz lizmana he had by the first three, and the last one was quiet. Possibly by kares. Why would it be made by kares? It should be kares. Miklal, so Zaraya, you have to learn the Halash Kitikna is Lakshiruda, so that he had in mind to make it kosher, and the last one was not kosher, and that's why it's not going to be Kares. Amarava, Rava gives a different teretz. Kitikna, that the Mishnah Chaptan, that Kitikna, so therefore we can learn the Pshat like Reb Shmuel according to Rabbanan. Rava says Kitikna Shenakna Mishnah, it really is Machshavas Pigul. Like Rav Shmuel and Rav Yitzchak want to say, and it follows the Rabbanan. Omai, what's the Kavanah? Shalai Kitikna. The Kavanah is that he plays down Machshavas Chutzlim Kaimai, which is a Machshava that takes away the first Pigul. If you have two Machshavas Pigul, one cancels the other. Or Yavashim Shalai Lishmai, which is also considered as a good Pigul, but it cancels the first Pigul. That's why it's not going to be Kares. Miklal, the Chiloi Ovid Law, Chutzlim Kaimai Shalai Lishmai, Mechayev. In fact, it's mashma. According to you, you wanted to say that the reason why it says in the Mishnah is kares because you had a machshava of pigul canceling the first pigul. But it's mashma. What's if he didn't have such a machshava of chutzlam kaimei over shalei lishmai? So mechayev, he would be chayev kares. So we have now. If so, we can prove, even according to your pirish, that the Mishnah holds that one who does aldas shayna, who he does aldas shayna. So we do have a raya. You try to say it goes according to Rabbanan, but even according to the way you're explaining now, that the reason why you're not chayiv kodesh is because it's talking about one pigul is canceling the other, but you can be medayik if the second pigul wasn't a machshavas pigul that could passel. He would be chayv because you do it al das shayna. No, the reason why he chapped on this case of chutz mechem shalei lishmai, because I did the Tanna B'Reisha, that if he placed the first matan in Hashav's chutz lizmanei, which that makes the whole carbon, and the second, third, and fourth don't have no validity to make the carbon. To make it mechapa a kapara. The first scene is the kapara. So there he said pigul chayav malav kares. It's still going to be pigul and he chayav kares because the first one is the only one where pigul could apply. So since he used the second pigul over there, what was the second pigul? Chutzlim kaimei or shalei nishma tananami. Therefore he learned gam b'seifa. But again, that the second machshava pigul was was chutzim kaimei and shalei lishma, and therefore it's possible by kares, and that's why if he placed the last matana v'shtika, so the case would be even if he would have placed the matana achreina v'shtika without a machshava pigul, the carbon would not become pigul, and we won't say that he did it al das shayna. The only reason why he said that this is the second that the shalei kitikuna was a case of chutzlam kaimei or shalei lishma because the reisha you use that. You want to bring out the chiddush that even though there was another pigul that could have canceled the first pigul, but the second and third matanis are not vital to the kapara, so therefore pigul does not. Those pigul won't cancel the first one. The first pigul is the valid pigul. Any pigul that comes after means nothing because the first matana is the matana that's mechaper the person, and that's why you learn the sefer also that there was a second pigul of shalei lishma and or chutzlam kaimei. But it really wasn't vital to say that. He could have said even if he kept quiet, he would also hold that we don't say that we do al das shayna.